Hey gang, what's up? Aaron right here, Canadian Looney. So we've got Honeypot here trying to invite you to watch the rest of this video. The NDP has gone way downhill. Obviously down to 7 seats, not an official party any longer. They're done. Jagmeet slaughtered the NDP party, like brought them down to 7 seats. They're not even an official party anymore. Like, this is all that is left of the NDP. Let's take a look at these 7 MPs that are holding on to a dream or something.
We're speaking.
Vancouver East.
During the inquiry, concerns around the participation of busloads of Chinese foreign students and falsified documents for the Don Valley North nomination came to light. The commissioner noted that Chinese foreign interference activities could have made a difference on who was nominated in Don Valley North. The Chinese media reported that the nomination was won by 14 votes. The Prime Minister cannot continue to pretend there is nothing to see here. Based on the damning findings, what action will the Prime Minister take now?
Oh yeah. The honourable member from Nunavut.
The people in Nunavut pay hundreds of more dollars in shipping fees than the rest of Canada. Amazon charged a Pangnatuk resident over $700 in shipping fees. This is unacceptable. The Liberals are catering to ultra-rich corporations by allowing this. Nunavut needs a government that fights to take on Amazon's corporate greed. Why is this government okay with Nunavut paying hundreds more in shipping fees to go to basic goods?
The honourable member from Winnipeg Centre.
Mr. Speaker, since Orange Shirt Day, we've seen countless examples of residential school denialism, including from Conservative candidates in both New Brunswick and BC. And, Mr. Speaker, we know the leader of the Conservative Party supports this kind of rhetoric, having fundraised with residential school denying think tanks. Survivors have a right to be protected from hate speech. Will the government support my bill and protect survivors from residential school denialism once and for all?
Heather McPherson is an NDP MP member from Alberta, and she does not seem happy with the coalition at all. She's freaking out.
Position is appalling, not responsible. For 2 months, this government has sat and watched while 18,000 innocent civilians have lost their lives and have refused to call for a ceasefire. We need a ceasefire. We need the hostages removed. Last week, it was reported that Liberal donors were withholding support because of the moral failure of the Liberals. Today, there is an important vote at the United Nations. The Liberals have failed to listen to the Palestinian people and to Canadian Palestinians. Will they at least listen to their fundraisers and vote for a ceasefire today?
Ceasefire.
And she was freaking out at Trudeau and the Liberals. Not good for the coalition government.
The honourable member from
No
Courtenay,
filter.
Alberta.
Mr. Speaker, for 3 years, the Liberals have allowed a company in Union Bay to break apart a massive ship in the high tide zone without being in a self-contained floating dry dock. This is despite objections of the province, local communities, and First Nations. Nowhere in the world would this unregulated chaos be allowed to take place. A recent provincial inspection found the operations are discharging effluent more than 100 times the limit for copper and more than 13 times the limit for zinc. What will it finally take for the federal government to step in and put an end to this dangerous, unregulated shipbreaking?
The honourable member for Rosemont-la-Petite-Patrie. Mr. Speaker, when the NDP gets to work, the results are clear. Thanks to NDP pressure, Premier Legault backtracked on his decision to not offer dental care to Quebecers. Now, the Liberals, we remember the Prime Minister's promises: more doctors, more nurses, a better working public health care system for everyone. 9 years later, 500,000 Quebecers don't have a family doctor. Broken promises from the Liberals, and people are paying the price. When will the Liberals get to work to make sure that everyone has a family doctor?
The party won only 7 seats. 12 are needed to have that official party status. Losing that status means losing certain privileges and funding. I spoke to the NDP's new interim leader, Don Davies, about those conversations as Parliament resumes later this month. Don Davies, nice to see you again.
Nice to be with you, Rosie.
Congratulations on your re-election, on your new position as NDP interim leader. I know there's all sorts of mixed emotions around things given the outcome, but I do want to congratulate you personally first.
Thank you so much.
How do you plan to approach your job during this interim time? Obviously, there's 7 of you. You don't have everything you had, and we can talk more about that, but how do you plan to lead this group through a rebuilding time?
Well, very cooperatively. You know, we have a small but mighty caucus. There are 7 of us together. And I think moving very constructively in a united fashion together is going to be key.
At least there's no little bald man in this one. Like, this journalist seems a little more tolerable than David Cochrane. Let's take a look. Like, here we go.
3 NDP MPs that say they're upset with how the party's interim leader, Don Davies, was selected. We have LEAH GAZAN, Laurie IDLOUT, and Jenny KWAN wrote a letter to the NDP Executive National Council complaining about the process, saying they say it missed the mark. It goes on to say, it's clear by our own disappointment that it failed to uphold democratic and transparent principles. This left some caucus members excluded in the process.
They're just trying to make a headline. Like, whatever relevance the NDP party has, this is it. Like, now there's issues in the NDP party structure.
After our historic loss, how we proceed forward matters. Selecting an interim leader in this fashion sets them up for failure, not success. After that letter was leaked to the media, those same MPs say it was not intended for the public, and they called the leak unfortunate. Alberta NDP MP Heather McPherson is here with me in studio. Nice to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Hi, Peter. Nice to see you.
She's a wild one. Heather McPherson.
What does it say? What does it tell us that the internal process of these, 3 of 7 members of your caucus feel this way?
Well, I mean, I think what it says is this was a pretty unique election, right? This was a tough one for the NDP. This was hard, and so we're trying to figure out what this looks like, what this next Parliament will look like for the New Democrats, how we rebuild a party that I think Canadians deeply need in our democracy, and so it's tough, and there's going to be tough conversations. Do I have any doubt whatsoever that every single one of the 7-member caucus of the NDP will be working as hard as they possibly can to fight for Canadians? Absolutely not. I mean, I'm deeply comfortable that as a caucus, our goal and what we're going to be doing when Parliament comes back next week is exactly what New Democrats have always been doing. We will hold the government accountable. We will fight for everyday Canadians. We will make sure that workers' rights are protected, and that's the work that we have to do. There's going to be some challenges. There is. That's going to happen. We see it with the Conservatives. They've been having some challenges lately. Yep. The messaging out of the government has been far from stellar. So, this is a start of a new Parliament, start of a bit of a unique time, and I think there's just a bit of growing pains going on.
How did you find yourself reacting as you read that letter for the first time? Were you nodding along to parts of it, or were you saying, guys, come on, we need to rally here?
we have a constitution, and from my perspective, the Constitution, we followed the letter of the Constitution, and there was some consultation certainly with me. I don't want to pretend that I know what everybody else's experience was for me, and so I'm very supportive of Don Davies being in that position, but I also think that we do need to always listen to voices that ask for our party to be more democratic, ask for our party to do more. That said, I want to make it very, very clear. The Constitution does say that the Federal Council is in charge of selecting the interim leader, and the Federal Council, I think, did an excellent job of doing that.
It'd be one thing if 3 members of your party your caucus were saying, hey, this is bad and we need to fix it. It's a different thing when it's 3 out of 7. Like, it's almost half of your caucus.
Well, and I mean, lots of folks have been saying, like, it will be easier because there's only 7 of you. That's not the case.
Right.
Anyone who's been a parent of teenagers knows knows that it's not necessarily the smaller the number, the easier the path is there. So listen, we've got incredibly strong members of Parliament in our caucus. Every one of those voices is important at that caucus table, and we're gonna be meeting, we're gonna be talking, and we're gonna be getting to work for Canadians. I mean, that's what New Democrats need to be focusing on, and that's what we will be focusing on.
And to do that, you sort of have to put this aside. So who needs to do what to make that happen?
I mean,
is it Don Davies?
In my opinion, what we need to do is sit down and think about what Canadians need. You know, this particular Liberal government made a lot of promises during this campaign. They've already backed off some of those promises. We already don't have a budget. We already have a government that doesn't want to be accountable to Canadians. We already have a government that I think requires New Democrats to be in the House of Commons holding them accountable. And, you know, interestingly enough, we still do have the balance of power, and we can push the government to do some of those things that I think are important to Canadians. We look at labor unrest that's happening across this country right now. That's where New Democrats are important. You know, we look at some of the things that we know are happening for Canadians, the fact that housing is so expensive, the fact that groceries are, you know, out of control. These are things that you need to have New Democrats in the House for. We watched the United States. We've seen what a two-party system does to a democracy. It's not good. Canadians need New Democrats. You know, we need to rebuild this party. We need to come out strong because Canadians need us.
And yet, to your point, you know, we're doing a program today. We're talking about Canada Post. We're talking about the looming strike and what's going to happen to workers there. And we have you, as a representative of the New Democratic Party, on talking about this internal battle rather than the issues facing.
Well, to be fair,
this guy is way better than David Cochrane. I'm up to here with David Cochrane. Take a walk, bud.
Well, Peter, you're talking about that, but I'm trying to talk a little bit about housing and affordability issues as well.
I think it's fair that there are questions about this and it's unresolved. And I guess the point I'm trying to make is, what do you do to get it resolved, and how important is it to get that done quickly?
Well, you know, like I said earlier, every party is going through a little bit of struggles right now. And so what we all need to be doing is having conversations. We need to be having conversations amongst ourselves, because let's not pretend that what happened on April 28th was great for New Democrats. That was a tough night. Yeah. We lost some really excellent MPs. You know, I think about my colleague Blake Desjardins, who didn't get elected in Edmonton. He's fantastic, and he deserves to have a seat in that parliament. So we need to have those difficult conversations. And then, even more important than that, we need to start having conversations with Canadians. We need to be out in communities talking to Canadians so that they understand why we're here. And that's what rebuilding the New Democratic Party is going to take, and that's what it's going to look like. And I guarantee every one of those 7 members of our caucus is going to be doing that work with me.
You need a national leader to do that. How important is it to you to get a permanent, long stint, like to get this out of the way, move forward with whoever is going to be the long-term leader of this party?
Sorry to
interrupt you. You know what I'm asking.
I think she's going to announce here that she's thinking about running for the leadership.
You know, I have full confidence in Don Davies. I have full confidence that he will be an excellent interim leader for us. But you're right. We need to get a leader in place that can take the party forward. And this is a minority parliament. This is a very, very... you know, this parliament could last 4 years, or it could last...
She's stunned for words, like... Oh my God.
4 months, and we don't know what that is. So yeah, of course, we need to have a leader in place so that we are ready when the next election comes to put our case forward to Canadians, to make Canadians understand how important it is that there are New Democrats that are sitting around the table, that are pushing the government, that are holding whatever the government of the day is accountable for the promises they make to Canadians.
Would you be that leader, if asked?
You know, I've been asked by a number of people.
Here it is.
And I haven't made a decision. We haven't seen what the race looks like. There's a lot of things that I'm
cowardly
focusing on right now that revolve around making sure that this parliament, this government is accountable to Canadians, and that the Liberals and Prime Minister Carney are living up to the promises he's made to Canadians.
Parliament resumes next week. There's been a lot of talk about official party status. Right now, you don't have it. How much harder does that make the job, and what do you individually and then as a party need to do to make yourselves effective in spite of that?
I mean, Peter, I'm I'm a federal New Democrat from Alberta. I'm not worried about hard work. I'm fine. So yeah, it's of course it's harder. Of course it's harder when we don't have the resources. New Democrats have never had the same sort of resources that the Conservatives have, that the Liberals have. That's not made us any less effective. I mean, to be perfectly honest, you look at the last Parliament, what the members of Parliament from the NDP were able to accomplish in the last Parliament versus what the 100+ Conservatives were able to accomplish is pretty telling. We're hard workers. We're going to keep working hard.
All right, we're going to leave it there. And when you get some of this leadership stuff sorted out, we'll have you back on to talk about that and hopefully back to the issues.
Excellent. Thanks, Peter.
Thank you. No, I appreciate this.
God damn it, that's not news. What about us? Look, Stephen, Terrence and I were talking. Well, it's starting to look like maybe we're not going to win this thing, you know? We'll win. We just have to stay resilient. Well, yeah, but everyone is dying of starvation.
Yeah, let's give it up, guy.
Don't call me your guy. I am not your guy, friend.
I'm not your friend, buddy!
All meat. No filter.